how do you shave down there? How to cope with different sex drives, how to deal with feeling behind in terms of boys, how to deal with toxic friendships. Like delete that person, like literally delete out of your life. Hey guys, it's Beth. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to a video that I am personally very excited to film. Today we are going to be having the ultimate girl talk. Nothing is off limits. I am now officially your big sister if you didn't have one, or maybe if you just don't get along with your sister. I am also going to be my own big sister because I love giving advice and answering questions. But if there's one thing that I am not good at, it is taking said advice. So I'm gonna be my own big sister. I feel like me saying things out loud is gonna make me remember them and put them into action. I don't know if this makes sense, and hopefully my answers and advice are good. Please take everything with a grain of salt. Anyway, I asked you guys over on my Instagram to send me through any kind of girl talk advice or questions that you had. I said don't hold back. Literally nobody held back. So let's get into it. I have all the questions up on my phone here. Yeah, okay, let's just dive straight into it. Okay, we're gonna talk about periods. First/worst most embarrassing period story. Okay, so to be 100% real, I don't really remember getting my first period. I know I was in year 9 and I live in Australia, so I would have been either 15 or 16. I think I was at my friend's place for a sleepover, but I do remember my period has always been like super light. Oh my god, me just like kicking the tripod. I've had so many troubles with this tripod today. Just know that it is being held up by UTAC, which is a cheap version of Blue Tack right now. Like that's where we're at. But I remember when I got my period, I wasn't 100% sure if I'd even got it because it was only a tiny bit of blood. And I think I just went home from the sleepover and was like, I think I have my period, and then I just spoke to my mom about it. Worst most embarrassing period story. I don't have one. Like I said, my period is always super light. So I've never had that experience where I've leaked through a pad or a tampon, or I've been somewhere and I've gotten my period and it's leaked through my clothes. But on that, I don't think anything to do with periods is embarrassing. Like, it's 2021, and if someone's gonna laugh at me or you for bleeding on something when our vaginas are literally like getting all of this blood and stuff out of our system, like, no, absolutely not. Grow up. If someone laughs at you for that, that's on them and they're behind and they need to get on the wave and grow up. Period to that. What are the best period products / have you ever used tampons? Okay, so girl, I used to use tampons all the time. I was a tampon wearer, and then I would use pads at night because, girl, okay, if you are using tampons and you're sleeping in them, I need you to promise me that you will stop doing that today. Like, if you're watching this and you're about to go to bed with a tampon in, take it out. I don't care how recently you just put it in. So yes, I have used tampons, but I recently switched over to using a menstrual cup, I think 2 periods ago, so 2 months ago. Yeah, so I've been using the period proof menstrual cup, and guys, okay, this thing is an absolute game changer. Firstly, it eliminates waste. Okay, so when you're on your period, obviously you're going through tampons, you're going through pads because they're only single use, whereas with the menstrual cup, it is reusable, which means secondly, you save money because you only have to buy it once. Every time you use it, you can clean it. And thirdly, and most importantly, in my opinion, it is really comfortable. I think sometimes when people hear the word menstrual cup, they're like, oof, that sounds super uncomfortable and messy, but it's really not. I will say it did take me a little bit of time to get used to it, but by a little bit of time, I mean like 2 days. Like 2 days and I had the hang of it. And I love it so much because you can wear it for 12 hours. So I wake up in the morning, I take it out because you can sleep in it as well. I clean it and then I can put it back in and I'm good to go for 12 hours. Nothing makes me more angry than when I put a tampon in and then I'm like, I have to change this soon. The girls that get it, get it. Oh my gosh. Okay, how do you shave down there. Firstly, I want to say actually, why do I keep pointing so much? Also, the sun has finally come out for the first time today and it's chosen to shine directly on this wall, so enjoy this. But I want to say that if you do not want to shave down there and you're only shaving or waxing or removing the hair because you feel like you have to, oh my god, me just like kicking my tripod again. If you're shaving and removing hair down there because you feel like you have to, or you want to impress someone or anything like that, no, don't do it. You and I, we only do things because we want to do them. But if you do want to shave down there, all I'm gonna say is don't shave up. If you shave up, you can end up with ingrown hairs, it's messy, it's itchy. So if you do shave, I recommend going side to side. Well, actually not like side to side like this. Side to side in the sense of like shave in this direction on that side, this direction on the other side. What is really good though is laser hair removal. I used to get it a lot before I moved to Canada, but I didn't keep up with it when I was in Canada, so now I've like completely lost all my progress. So if you start, don't give up. Okay, moving on. How do you deal with insecurities? I think the thing with insecurities is they take time to work through. Ultimately, what you need to be able to do is accept whatever you're insecure about, get to the bottom about why you're insecure about it, and then ultimately be either comfortable with it or accept it about yourself and love yourself and be able to move on from it. Like, I'm no therapist obviously, but that's kind of what I've done with any insecurity that I've had in my life and what I think the process is. Like I said, take everything I say with a grain of salt. And I know it sounds cliche, the whole like you just have to love yourself and embrace it, but I think it's true. And another thing to remember with insecurities as well, and this is definitely hard, but I think it just is how it is. You have to remember that not everybody notices what you're insecure about. So for instance, if you're insecure about your nose, like not every single person is looking at you and staring at your nose and being like, oh my god, she has such a big nose. For example, I am insecure about my lips. One of my lips is not as plump as the other side. It's like barely noticeable. I'm so aware of it. Every time I bring it up to anyone, they're like, oh, I did not even notice that. And that's because honestly, everybody is too busy worrying about them damn selves. So I think it helps to know that no one is really looking at you, like no one cares. Everyone's too fixated on themselves. But I do think it's important to get to the bottom of insecurities because it's not something that you want to live with. I also think something needs to be said for changing things about yourself if you want to and you can. Like, I'm insecure about my lips. I've gotten to the point where I've accepted them. I'm like, oh well, this is how they are, it's fine, but I'm still probably gonna get filler because I want to change them. But if you're doing things from a place of insecurity where you haven't accepted it about yourself first, or you're doing it for someone else, like I mentioned before about shaving, don't change it. Like if you're super insecure about your nose and you haven't kind of like worked to the bottom about why you feel like that, and you're just changing it because every single person you've seen on social media has like a tiny little nose and you feel like everyone's judging you, like, no, you need to get to the bottom of it first, because you should only be changing things about yourself for yourself, not for others. I'm kind of nervous that rant like didn't make sense. Also, the sun I feel like is moving over, but I mean, hot girl summer and winter in Australia, I guess. What's your advice to being yourself around people you don't know? Oof, this is a hard one, especially if you're like me and have pretty bad social anxiety. I used to be so scared, actually still low-key a little bit, about meeting new people, and I used to, I think, put up a mask and just be who I thought the other people I was around would like or would want me to be. And oh my god, it's just not the vibes at all. It is one, so unsustainable. Like if you create a character, you then have to like uphold and be that character every single time you're around those people. And if you create a character that you don't even like, girl, like absolutely not. It is the worst. You will be so unhappy. Literally, trust me, I've done it a billion times. But what I think has helped me is I've realized that I don't need everyone to like me, and also not every single person is going to like me. The best thing that you can do is walk into a room and always be yourself, because you will then attract people into your life that are meant to be into your life. You attract people who like you for you and not for who they think you are, or this version that you've created so that they like you. And also, like, why do you need these people to like you? Love yourself. If they like you, awesome, that's a bonus. If they don't, that's fine. There's 7 billion people in this world. If this group of people or a particular person don't like you, it, move on, next. But you know what, I don't think anyone is 100% themselves when they are meeting new people. I think everybody holds back to a certain extent, and there's definitely times where you do either hold back more, like, you know, if you're in a job interview or something like that. But I think just approach the situation knowing that the only thing you need to do is be yourself, and if they like you, they like you. If they don't, they don't. We pack up, we move on, we live, we laugh, we love. How to deal with growing up. Okay, let's get into this. I have definitely struggled with this. I still do struggle with the concept of growing up. There's 2 things that I remind myself of that have definitely helped me accept the concept of growing up, and I think embrace it. The first one is that it is such a privilege to grow up. There are so many people who don't make it to the age that you are, or the age that you are going to get to. So that is the first thing that I remind myself. The second one is that unless something awful happens to someone, every single person is going to age and is going to grow up. So for instance, sometimes I get super, I don't want to say insecure, but I'm like, oh my god, I'm 26, I'm getting older, like I'm growing up. And especially with social media, I'm like, oh my god, everyone who's like 18, 19, 20 is gonna think I'm so old. But you know what? All those people who are 18, 19, 20, they're also gonna be 26 one day. Age is literally one of the only things that we can't control, like age and time. So there is literally no point wasting any time or energy worrying about it, because you can't change it. Like, what is the point of worrying about it? It doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't help you at all. I know it's so much easier said than done. Also, I like to remind myself that you can change your life, or you can take up a new hobby or try something new at any age of your life. And I think there's definitely something to be said for just the overall experience of growing up. It's so interesting. I love that I can look back at being 18, 19, 20, even all of the ages up to 26 that I am now, and I think about how much I grew in those years, how differently I used to think about things. And yeah, I just think growing up and aging is honestly such a beautiful thing. Like, yeah, I'm obviously gonna lather myself in retinol and SPF so that I don't look a day over 26, but I think I'm so lucky to be this age, and I'm never gonna be this age again, so I may as well embrace it. And when I'm 35, I'm gonna be like, oh my god, I'm so mad that I thought I was old at 26. So if you're worrying about aging or growing up or new experiences or anything like that, just ride the wave. Take a deep breath and ride the wave, because you're doing amazing and everything's gonna be fine. How to tell when it's time to move out of home. Okay, so my experience moving out of home was probably a bit different than, I guess, the like standard procedure of moving out from home. So I lived with my parents up until I was 16, and when I was about to go into year 12, maybe I was 17, I don't know, I was a teenager, my parents had to move states for my dad's work. So they moved from Victoria in Australia up to WA, and they gave me the option of going with them or staying in Victoria and living with my grandparents. So I took the opportunity to live with my grandparents, and as much as I guess that wasn't like officially moving out, I wasn't on my own, I mentally see that as the time that I moved out, because I think I definitely became more independent independent. There was times when my grandparents went away, especially the year after year 12. So when I was 18, I lived for a little bit of time at my grandparents' house, like while they were away for an extended period of time. So that's what I associate with moving out. And I think it's different for everyone. I think a big thing is don't feel pressured to move out by what you see on social media, in the terms of like, you know, when people are like, oh my god, I'm 20 and I still live at home, like I'm so behind on life, what am I doing? Don't worry about any of that stuff, because everybody is going to have a different experience, and the time when someone feels is right to move out of home is going to be different for everyone. It's hard to know exactly when it's time, but at the same time I feel like you will just know. I think it's definitely important to take the opportunity if you can to move out of home. I think you learn so much about yourself, you gain independence. I just think it's honestly amazing. Yes, it can be expensive though, so I would recommend making sure that you can afford to live out of home, whether that means you have a housemate or you live in a specific area, you have a budget, you get the vibes. But don't feel, I guess, pressured to move out of home. Do what's right for you. I mean, always do what's right for you. That's like my biggest thing I want you to take away from all of this, is do what's right for you, not what's right for everybody else. But I think also if you do have a really good relationship with your parents, I would recommend talking to them about it. But yeah, I think you just know, whether that is in the sense of I'm ready to move out or I should move out, because sometimes I think you know that you should do something even when you feel like you're not ready. How to deal with feeling lost in your career / uncertainty about making money. I love this question, because for as long as I can remember, I have never known what I wanted to do as a job. I think I always wanted to do like YouTube on social media once I knew that that was a job. But when I look back at being a kid or a teenager, I would be like, oh yeah, I want to be an accountant. But I never had that actual passion or really wanted to do it. I was just like, oh yeah, that sounds like a good thing to be. I'll be an accountant, I'll be a lawyer, I'll do that. But I never actually wanted it. But anyway, in terms of feeling lost in your career, I think it's important to know that you can always change your career. I know everybody's circumstances are going to be different, and it's not necessarily an overnight thing where you're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna like quit my job today and start a new career. But there is something to be said for knowing that you can always change what you're doing. I always use Cal as an example for this. I know he didn't change industry, so it's not quite the same as someone going from a completely different industry, but he was a graphic designer at an ad agency for 10 years, and when he was 30 he quit that and moved to Canada and then worked at a ski resort, and then obviously went back to becoming a freelance graphic designer, which is what he is now. But I think sometimes people feel like they need to figure everything out straight away in their 20s or even late teenage years. It's like there's this pressure to just know exactly what you want to do for the rest of your life at such a young age, and it's so weird to me that people feel, I guess, trapped in the careers, or I guess life paths. I mean life paths in a career sense that they choose. Me kicking the tripod. Because you can always change. It's never too late to change. Even I quit my job at 23. I worked in the legal industry and was like, yeah, nah, I'm gonna go work at a ski resort. Now I do social media full time. And you know what? I might even change and do another career. So if you're feeling lost, I think one, know that you're not alone, because there is definitely people who are also in your situation. And I've definitely had times, especially when I came back to Australia, where I was like, what the actual f am I doing? But also just know that you can always change. It's never too late to change. How to deal with feeling behind in terms of boys and relationships. Okay, I kind of think I just went on a whole rant about the fact that you can change at any time or do things at any time, and I think that goes for boys and relationships as well. You are not behind, man. People have this pressure put on them to just fast track, like bam, bam, bam. Like you have to have done this by a certain age, this by a certain time. It's just so untrue. I think when it comes to boys, but also for any type of relationship, no matter what your gender is or your sexuality, love yourself first, and when you're ready, then not even worry about that, but then you can start kind of like exploring that. I think it's so much more important to worry about the relationship you have with yourself than to worry about whether you've gotten with a boy or a girl before, or whether you've had your first relationship. Because I know for myself, if I could go back to when I was a teenager, I wish I didn't have my first relationship until I loved myself, because I know that I would have had a better relationship. I would have set up better boundaries if I had have loved myself first. And if anybody ever makes fun of you because you haven't had your first kiss or you haven't had a boyfriend or anything like that, them, like delete that person, like literally delete out of your life. Don't accept that energy. Focus all of your energy onto loving yourself. And also when you do that, it's so funny, like literally when you're not expecting anyone to come into your life or expecting any experience to happen, that's when it happens. Trust me, because that is what happened with me and Cal. I was not looking for a relationship or anything like that when I went to America, and now I've been with Cal for 5 years. Moral of the story is the most important relationship is the one that you have with yourself. So focus all of your energy on that, and who cares about the rest? The rest will come if it's meant to come at the time it's meant to come. The universe knows what's up. It'll figure it out for you, don't worry. How to cope with different sex drives in long-term relationships. Okay. When it comes to this, I think the biggest thing is communication. You need to talk to your partner about this, and your partner needs to talk to you. Like, it's not all on you, girl. Like, you both need to communicate, because I think when communication occurs, then you can figure out what works best for you. Communication is honestly the key. Oh my god, communication is key. But it literally is to fixing everything. But I think it's so important to just talk about and discuss. And when you have that conversation, you can kind of figure out what works for the both of you. And no one's going to be angry or upset or bottling any emotions behind the scenes. You can kind of just lay it all out. I'm not saying you have to make like a sex schedule, but I do think having a conversation about it and just like figuring out what works for your relationship, because every single relationship is different, is so important and would help so much. Will help so much, actually. Can confirm from experience. How to deal with toxic friendships. If someone is in your life and they are toxic, remove them. Delete. There are 7 billion people in this world. You do not need to have someone toxic in your life, and this is coming from someone who can honestly say that they used to be toxic. When I was younger, I want to say like 17 to 21, I was fairly toxic. Like, I can completely admit that. Like, I've done a lot of work to be able to reflect back now and admit that, and people definitely dropped me as a friend. And you know what? As they should, because you do not need / deserve to have toxic people in your life. The people who are in your life should uplift you and inspire and motivate and just bring out the best in you. And I'm saying this because I also think that I need to hear this. I find it so hard to cut people off. People do me wrong, I'm always like, oh no, it's okay. But it's 2022, girl. We're gonna put in boundaries. We're gonna look after ourselves, and we're gonna say absolutely no to toxic people. We're gonna make good relationships with good people. In terms of dealing, like specifically dealing with toxic friendships, I think communication is key. Like, you need to talk. No, do you even need to talk it through, or do you just cut them off? Can you tell that I'm not actually the best? Like, this is the advice that I need to hear. I'm like, yeah, delete toxic people out of your life, and meanwhile, like, I will just like let people hang around. Actually, if you have any tips for dealing with toxic friends, like actually like dealing with them, please comment them below, because I think a lot of us could benefit from them. Also, yes, this is my Christmas snowman mug. It's like the best mug for tea. I always use it. How to stay motivated. Okay, staying motivated. 1, motivation comes in waves. You are never going to be motivated 24/7. I think that is something that is so important to accept, because I know I have definitely had times where I'm like, oh my god, I'm not feeling motivated. Like, what the hell? I want to be a motivated queen. But motivation doesn't just come once and stick around for the good. It comes in waves. I think it's more important to focus on consistency consistency over motivation. Because like I said, motivation won't always be there, but consistency will. Tips on how to be consistent, I think would be firstly creating a schedule that works for you, but secondly also focusing on the why. Like, why do you want to do this thing? Why do you want to be consistent with this thing? Knowing your why is so important, because there's so many times, man, where like my alarm will go off at 5 a.m. because I want to go to the gym at 6, and I'm laying there being like, I do not want to do this. Like, I'm not doing this. Like, why am I doing this to myself? And then I think why I'm doing it to myself, and it's for myself, my mental health, what I want to look like. I want to be the healthiest version of myself, and that gets me up. So I think when you're trying to be consistent with something, knowing your why is so important. 2 other tips. One I actually learned from my friend Bella is the Pomodoro method. It is basically where you set a 25-minute timer and you work for the 25 minutes on whatever you're doing, whether it be studying, or for me particularly it'll be editing a video. Then you take a 5-minute break and then you continue the process. Setting timers, I swear by them, because it's like such a fun thing as well. I know when I have to clean my room, I'm like, okay, set a 10-minute timer. Then I'm like, how much can I get done in 10 minutes? But the second one is also, I think I learned this from Bella as well. Not me like learning everything from Bella. Doing the thing you don't want to do the most first. Like, just get the thing you don't want to do over and done with, and then that will motivate you to keep going with the other tasks. What contraceptions should I use? I think use whatever one is best for you. I have been on the pill before, I've used the rod in my arm, and I've used condoms. I did not do well with the rod in my arm. I think it just freaked me out that it was in there, and I didn't get my period for like 8 months, and then when my period came back, I had it for like 8 weeks straight or something, and I was like, what the f? So personally, I didn't like that. I was on the pill for like 8 years. I went off it for personal reasons, and I think it's definitely helped my mental health, my physical health, just absolutely everything. But I think it just depends on what you're comfortable with, and I think you just need to have that conversation with your partner or the person that you're getting with. This one is so funny to me, and I think the reason that it's funny is because I'm mentally ill. How often do you have a mental breakdown? It definitely depends on what I'm going through. In the Gold Coast, for example, I would say like 2 to 3 times a week. But yeah, I would say I have them quite frequently. Okay, there's a couple of specific questions, like more advice kind of questions. So the first one is, I can't be with the boy I've been crying for 3 days now. I don't know what to do. Please help. Oh my god, bless. Okay, bless. I've been here. I feel you. Like, I can literally feel this emotion. Like, as I'm reading it, I'm like, oof. I get it. I think that this is happening for a reason. I know, so generic, like, oh my god, this is happening for a reason. But I think there is someone out there that is better for you. The universe has something in store for you. There's 7 billion people in the world. Like, someone else is going to come into your life and they're going to be able to be there. Obviously, I don't know the circumstances of why you can't be with the person. The way I interpreted it just then was that they were unavailable, like they didn't want to be with you. But if that's the case, then girl, you don't need him. There is someone out there who is perfect for you, and they're gonna come into your life. But also, you don't need anybody, girl. Like, you got this. What to do when you thought you were over someone, but now all you do is look for them? I think that depends on why you broke up and how long it's been, I guess. Like, I really need to know how you've broken up, because if it was a mutual breakup and there was no bad blood, you just kind of both wanted to go separate ways, but now you're like, oh, actually, I think I want that person in my life, then maybe you could reach out to them. But if it was a bad breakup and they were toxic, or they treated you awfully or anything like that, then I'd be like, girl, no, like, you're not going back. But yeah, I feel like I don't actually. DM me, let's figure this out. Okay, lastly, if I like a guy but I don't know if he likes me back / could be talking to other girls, should I give up on him? I don't know if you should give up on him, but I think you need to get answers. Like, I think you need to know whether he's talking to somebody else or not. And I know it's not necessarily the funnest thing or something that you want to do, just like going up to someone and be like, hey, you talking about the girls? But I think you deserve to know. Like, I would want to know where I stand. Like, what is this? You know, am I wasting my time? So I don't think you should give up, but I think you should definitely seek out the answers so that you can figure out what it is between you guys and what you want / need to do. Okay, they are majority of the questions. Honestly, there are still a fair few, but I know that I've been filming for like literally an hour now. It is 3:45 and I set my broken ass tripod up at 2 p.m. There's going to be a lot of footage. So if you guys did like this type of video, please let me know, because I honestly absolutely love filming this. Why do I low-key want to start a podcast? Like, what if my advice is actually bad and everyone's like, girl, please don't ever do this again? But if you did like this, please let me know. Please give the video a thumbs up. Comment below any more questions that you have. I will try my best to answer them. Or if you guys see a comment below of a question that you feel like you have the answer for, go ahead and answer it. Let's just make this whole comment section an extended girls talk advice place. Anyway, if you guys have watched this far and you haven't subscribed, I mean, like, girl, we're basically best friends at this point. Like, you gotta subscribe. Anyway, I love you guys so much and I will see you in my next video. Bye.